All right, a lot of people that know me know I have a lot of books, and this is just one, well, two bookshelves, but I got a lot of books, and I think I'm up to about probably somewhere around 2,500. And I like going to thrift stores and finding books and garage sales. It's actually garage sale season right now, and my favorite thing is going to garage sales and finding books. But I found this at my favorite thrift store. It's called Thrift City. It's on 72nd, and I call it the Mexican thrift store because I believe it's a Mexican family that owns it, and they are super nice people in there. I went in the other day with Nikki actually on our anniversary, because we do really exciting things like go to the thrift store together on our anniversary. But they were actually playing like worship music on the sound system too, which was super cool. Um, so I don't know if they play that as like a hedge against, theft or something. I have no idea, but maybe they're actually Christians, which would be awesome. So I found this book there, and I was pretty intrigued just by the title, Methodical Bible Study. And so I flipped it open, and this is cool. I don't like it when stores they use a grease pen to rate the price, which is kind of annoying. But I think this is probably when the guy read the book was in 77, and it's got handwriting right here, so that's always cool. Um, so I flipped through it. This is how I look at books, kind of in a when I'm looking at buying a new book, and see this kind of writing, and I'm like, okay, like I can get into this. I love books with notes in them. It's one of my favorite things to find. And 1952, okay. And I'll usually smell the book, which obviously I'm not going to do on the camera, nor can I don't know, here, put your nose up to the phone and then smell. Anyways, um, love the smell of old books as well. And if you're a book person, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, then you should, because the word is everything. And remember that the word, logos. And logos is related to logic. It's also logarithm, which is used in math. And this is the multiple of something to get something else. That's a completely different um, subject from what I'm talking about. But what I discovered this morning, and so I'm looking at the book here, and look at all this writing in the back. So it's kind of hard to hold my phone and do this, but so all throughout this book, there's like notes and stuff, underlines, notes. I mean, look at that page back there. Just like I'm flipping through this at the thrift store the other day, and I'm like, man, this is cool. I mean, look at that. Somebody put so many hours into this book, and not just the writing, but I mean, the guy or girl that wrote all these notes in here. And if it was back in 1977, that's before I was even alive. And so to think that I'm holding not only somebody's thoughts, as in the the book itself. So you got to think that a book is somebody's thoughts that are brought into the world. So what's unseen is now seen, and that's done through the word. Which, if you want to get into this, really get down into this, in John 1 talks about the word became flesh, and that's Jesus Christ. And so to me, words are just so powerful. And I mean, we have such a great opportunity to use words to bring our thoughts into reality. And So this is just the notes back here. Well, see, he did get some of the note pages. But anyways, so what's crazy is I'm looking at this in the thrift store, and what I'm trying to get is back here. This is kind of cool. Not sure what that is. The Works of Faith. But I'm super excited about this book. I just have recently, in the last few months, really started studying the Bible as more than, whatever's been, I guess, studied at church, kind of like bringing it outside the walls of church. And I've read my Bible, on and off probably for, I don't know, most of my life, but I've never read it regularly like I do now. And actually like studied it, connected like different places in the Bible. And so now look at this. This dude wrote his own little book back here. And I'm just like, what the heck? So when I saw that in the store, I was like, oh yeah, like that book's coming home with me. And so it's probably this guy right here. I would assume that did all the writing, or girl, man or woman. But so I started reading this today, and it's interesting because even in the introduction, and there's a foreword in here too. Where's that at? The person that added the commentary on this, I can tell that he's already like disagreeing with what's been written, and that to me makes it even more valuable. So now I get two different views on this instead of the person writing in this and saying, oh yeah, basically cheerleading the text. He's actually, it seems like he's actually challenging what's written, like for example right here, as one of, or as of one's ideas, and then he writes, or Holy Spirit's, like almost like he's expanding on what's written. And all throughout here, like right here, the Bible is worth studying, and then he puts in parentheses, demands studying. And so from what I found just on the few pages I've turned to, this book is offering me another point of view on the Bible. So now we're looking at the Bible from two different points of view. And to me, that's like very interesting. And I think this book, I think this was like, this is God. This is just how God works, is bringing things like this into our lives. And I guess my life in this instance, this particular instance. But I had a question last week, or kind of like a deep theological question. And like 2 days later, somebody that I like online that kind of that studies the Bible posted a video that contained this, and it was like 2.5 hours deep into this video. So it took me a couple of days to even watch the video or listen to the video. But this is, I mean, look at this, a cake recipe. Like somehow this is compared to this. I haven't read the whole introduction yet, but I just wanted to do this live because I'm just, I'm reading my Bible this morning, and what came up was, I was in Luke 20, and talking about in Luke 20:18, everyone who falls on the stone will be broken to pieces, but on whoever it falls will shatter him. And that's about Jesus, who is the rock. So, which is mentioned in 17, the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. And if you jump down in that same chapter to verse 45. So Luke 20:45. Jesus said, "Beware of the scribes and who want to go around in long robes and love greeting in the marketplaces, best seat in the synagogues and places of honor banquets." And why that's important, beware of the scribes, because in Matthew 5:43, and this is kind of like the cool Bible stuff that I've been discovering as I've been studying the word, is you have heard that it was said, love your neighbors and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. And what Jesus is saying here is you have heard, is because in Bible times, so 2,000 years ago, the scribes were the ones that acted as the intermediary between the prophets or the priests, and I can't fully explain this. Maybe somebody else could help me out on a deeper explanation. But the scribes are the ones that translated and wrote down, what God was saying. And the scriptures, like the scribes are the ones that took the words from the prophets and wrote them down for people. And in those times, people were not highly educated. If you read about just the history of philosophy or formal education, if you just read about like Socrates and Plato, um, people didn't have the information. Like they relied on people like the scribes. And so when you have people that are doing this as just like a showy thing for everybody, now Jesus comes along, he says, you have heard it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. So think about that. Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies. And so the scribes are saying, love your neighbor and hate your enemy, right? To create division. And Jesus says, no, I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So this is, instead of division, now we're talking about reconciliation, which is the basic message of Christ, is reconciliation. And so when I read that earlier in Luke 20, I was like, man, I got to jump back to right there, Luke 20:45. I got to jump back to Matthew 5. And we could just follow this bunny trail for a second. This is what's been happening. My Bible is Matthew 7:29. And I'm thinking in this book right here, this Methodical Bible study book, I might just start adding my own. I might start writing scriptures in here, just so in another, however many years that is, 50 years, in another 50 years, when somebody gets this in a thrift store, then it'll be all these notes from this guy. Yeah, I mean, even this. Look at this. I just opened to this. I didn't even know this was in here. Church waste in small things. What does that say? Carelessness. Example, loaves and fishes. Disciples picked up all the crumbs left. 12 baskets of food would have been wasted if the crumbs weren't picked up. Oh, wow. See, that's rad. And what's so weird is this is exactly appropriate for what I was literally about to read in Matthew 7. Picked up all the crumbs left. So the crumbs are pieces of bread, right? Like just thinking about this, pieces of bread. So look at this, and I won't go into all these verses, but look at this. The two foundations. I wonder if this would help for the video picture, not like that. The two foundations. And if you read this, this is something that I go back to all the time. As you can tell, I've ran through this quite a bit. But the two foundations, it talks about the rock, but the house on the rock is solid, and the house on the sand is not solid. And sand is pieces of rock. Like sand is literally rock that's been broken up. And like sand on the beach, they can tell uh, the condition of the ocean based on the sand when they look through it in a microscope. And it looks like little rocks. And it just rubs up against each other, right? Over all this movement of waves to become soft, like sand. It's almost like if you put rocks in a tumbler, they become smooth. And but sand, in reference to this, building on the two foundations, right, which was a message from Christ, the sand is faulty because it only contains pieces of the truth. And I think there's something here, like really think about this. And we're talking about looking at something from like different perspectives. And so anyways, I'm going to end this video now, but I'm really excited about this book. And I thought I would go on here and just do a live because I can't do a YouTube live. And plus, maybe somebody in here will get some value out of this. So, anyways, have a good one. And look for books, man. Not for yourself, find them for me.